Hey friends, so let's talk about what happens after you file your immigration case, the timeline, and what to expect. Filing an immigration application can be, exciting. It can be nerve-wracking, whether you're applying for a green card, a work permit naturalization, or any other immigration benefit. It's important to know what happens in your case, and today I want to talk to you and talk through the timeline and the key steps that you need to consider and expect after submitting your immigration case to USCIS. So number one, the receipt notice, which is also Form I-797 Notice of Action. So after submitting your application, USCIS will send you a receipt notice confirming that they received your case. This document includes your receipt number, which you can use to track your case online, the file date, which is crucial for priority dates and processing times, a case type description, which is confirming which form you filed, and it also will include instructions on what happens next. And the timeline for receiving the receipt notices typically can be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. It can be as long as 8 weeks. And for certain cases, today we're seeing they're even taking several months. So the timeline really for receipt notices are all over the place right now in recent times. But in the past, typically you can expect to get it around 4 weeks. Number two, your biometrics appointment, right? If it's required for your case. So if your application requires biometrics, which is essentially your fingerprinting, they take a photo and signature, USCIS will schedule an appointment at an application support center. And this step is going to be necessary for your background check. So certain forms that do require biometrics include the I-485 adjustment of status, if you're getting a work permit, the I-765, the I-751 removal of conditions, the N-400. Now, if USCIS already has your fingerprints on record, sometimes they will indicate that they will use the prints that they already have on file, and they'll send you a notice stating that. Now, step number three, right? Maybe in some cases, you might receive a request for evidence, which is also known as an RFE. So if USCIS needs additional documents or information, they will send a request for evidence. Now, this does not mean that your case is denied. So don't panic when you get an RFE. Some of the common reasons for an RFE will include missing documents such as your birth certificate or a marriage certificate, if you submit insufficient proof of financial support, or if there is lack of evidence showing a bona fide marriage, okay? So with an RFE, you must respond within the deadline given, okay? Which is usually gonna be anywhere from 30 days to 87 days. Now, delays in responding can slow down your case significantly, so you wanna make sure that you take this seriously. And I recommend working with an attorney so that you make sure that you're responding appropriately so that you don't end up with your case being denied. Now, RFEs can be issued at any stage in the case, but most common, you're gonna see that you can get an RFE anywhere from 2 to 6 months after filing your case. So USCIS processes cases typically in the order that they receive the case. You can check your case status online using your receipt number, and you can go to the USCIS website and type in, or Google and type in USCIS case status online. Now, when you do this, you're going to see several different case status updates, right? One, you might see case status, your case was received. So this means that USCIS has your application and they are quote unquote reviewing it. You may also see that your case was approved, right? So this will mean that your petition or your application has been approved. And then typically for some cases, this might mean that there might be a next phase, and like for VAWA, for example, if your VAWA is approved, the next phase will be going, the approval or the adjudication of the green card, and they might want to call you in for an interview. Sometimes you'll see case was transferred. So this just means that your case was moved to a different USCIS office, and sometimes they do this in order to have faster processing. You'll also see at times a case status update that says case is ready for an interview. So this means that an interview has been scheduled, right? If it is required for your case. And then you might also see that decision notice mailed. So USCIS has made a final decision. They either approved it or denied it, and they had mailed your decision to the address that they have on file. So in some cases, you may be required to have an in-person interview at a USCIS field office. You will receive an appointment notice with the date, the time, and the location of your interview. Again, common applications that require interviews are the green card applications through adjustment of status, naturalization, I-751, marriage-based removal of conditions, and asylum application. So during the interview, the officer may ask you questions about your case. They're going to ask you questions about your documents and your eligibility. So once USCIS finishes processing your case, you'll receive a decision. If your application is approved, you may receive your approval notice and related documents by mail. So for example, your green card applicants, you are going to typically receive your green card in the mail anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks after your approval. So if USCIS denies your case, they will provide you a written explanation of why they denied the case. Depending on your case, you can either decide to file an appeal based on their decision, you can submit a motion to reopen and reconsider, or you can just decide to reapply with stronger evidence. So if your case needs further review, like security checks, background review, supervisor decision, USCIS may take additional time before making a decision. So delays can happen, especially in cases involving like waivers and inadmissibility issues or issues with your background check, okay? So what do you do if your case is delayed? So if your case is delayed or taking longer than expected, you have several options. So you can check the processing times at the USCIS processing times website. You can submit an inquiry if your case is outside of the normal processing times. So you want to make sure that your case has been pending longer than what the average case type is, their average time for adjudicating your particular case type. You can also request congressional assistance through your local representative, and they'll send a letter to USCIS on your behalf. You can file an expedited request if you have an urgent need. So for example, if there's a medical emergency or financial hardship and you need your case to be decided on quickly, you can file an expedited request. Just keep in mind that this is discretionary and they can approve and deny it. So you can also seek legal help, right? And explore what your options are. And that's why working with an attorney is important, because an attorney will be able to look at your case and be able to advise you on what the best option is and may be able to see maybe why your case is pending longer than usual. Maybe there were some issues in your case that could be making your case take a lot longer than it should. So I want you to remember that the immigration process requires patience. You know, you have to understand the steps after filing, you know, and this helps because it'll ease your anxiety. A lot of times people expect, you know, I work with clients that their case is going to be filed and within 2-3 months they'll hear back from USCIS, and that's not how it works. A lot of times it is a waiting game, and you could find yourself waiting several months to years to hear back from USCIS on your case. So if you have any questions about the immigration process, or if you have any questions about a specific immigration matter, you can go ahead and give my office a call. We'd be happy to talk to you about your case. You can schedule a consultation with me one-on-one so we can discuss strategy and your legal options. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with anyone who would benefit from this information, and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date every time I post a video. So I'll talk to you soon and see you in the next one. Bye.